Good evening, everyone. This is the Bowman Podcast coming at you here live. We got Mr. Cedric O'Hara in the dialed gear representing there from Missouri. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Little beat up and battered again, I hear.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Yep.
The livelihood
Always
of being a
something.
police officer. There's always something
Yep.
going on. Well,
Yep.
thank you for your hard work in protecting our streets out there, even though it's not a street anywhere near I live, but thank you for that. Mr. Noel Evans joining us again tonight. Final Descent Outdoors, Ethics, one of our great sponsors, Halo Knox, Serious Archery Products. Thanks for joining us there. That beautiful buck is always in the background. Can't get
Absolutely.
over that. Every time you see it, just can't get over it.
Appreciate having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And then Mr. Troy Forrester here, co-host of the show.
Sir,
How you doing?
back. Not too bad. We're doing good up here. We had a little taste of spring for a couple days, and now it's Ohio's coming back to her normal nasty self. It's rainy, nasty. So I guess we got a little bit of snow expected coming Sunday night. So
Great.
not quite there yet.
Well, I got to say, you got to move to Virginia because it's been in the mid 60s. All the flowers are out. The daylilies are out. They're all blooming. Everything's ready to roll. Robins are here. Turkeys are gobbling, so we're ready to rumble here.
We're not there yet, but
Yeah.
it's coming. It's coming.
All right. We got our great guest here, Mr. Jacob Carpenter, Scent Thief. He's with us today coming from, where are you coming from?
Kansas City.
Kansas City. Woo, go Chiefs.
Yeah. Titletown, baby.
Are you a Chiefs fan?
Oh yeah, big time. You can't live in Kansas City and not be a Chiefs fan.
Yeah. Well, I'm an Eagles fan, so you can say thank you to Jason Kelsey for retiring and, hold up number 62.
That was sad, man. That I don't know if you guys got a chance to see his retirement speech, but that got me a little bit.
Oh yeah. If that didn't get you, I don't know what kind of sports fan you are. That's he's one of the greats. So, but you guys put together a team. Mr. Andy Reid, man, I can vouch for him. He was a great coach for us, and he just continues to do so. He's got some talent. I'm glad he didn't retire because I know there was talk about him retiring too. So, and if he would have retired, I think a lot of other people, I think a lot of other people would have retired as well. But
yeah.
Cool. Well, you can add another ring onto your belt there, and hopefully, what is it? What was it? 2 in a row or 3 in a row?
2 in a row, 3 under Mahomes, and I think that makes, yep.
I know they're talking about it. They're trying to go for a third. It'd be the first time ever, right? 3 in a row like that.
Yeah.
So,
well,
were you at the parade?
I mean, no. Those things are cool to see on TV, and they're cool to talk about. I mean, you talk about an unbelievable amount. Oh, it's crazy.
Horrible.
And it was just, it makes me mad to hear about what happened at the end of that parade. And I'm glad that me and none of my friends were there, but man, just tons of people.
Yeah.
Tons of people.
There's always someone that ruins it for everybody. So
yeah, it's
unbelievable. Unbelievable. And if you out there don't understand or know, we were referring to the shooting that happened there at the end, and very unfortunate situation and just a very positive environment. So, God, I just can't. I don't even know where to start with that one, so I'm going to leave that one alone because, we all got our opinions on that. But, all right, man. Well, go ahead, Troy.
I was just going to say, we can just say our thoughts and prayers are with the families that are affected, anybody listening from that area. And
absolutely.
Yep.
Go from there.
That's all we can do.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm glad everyone.
It sounds like the people that were there responded in the right manner, and they took care of everything the way that they needed to. So, sounds like the good people were in place to make light of that situation or end it quick.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, and good on this, and good on the citizens too. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's been pictures shared of the people that took down like one of the shooters, but I mean, you talk about as like a law enforcement officer, like you're trained for those situations, or you like to think that most of us are trained for those situations. But I mean, somebody that doesn't have any experience, I mean, they're just out there trying to have a beer with their boys and celebrate a good time. And next thing you know, shots are ringing off, and they're like, "Screw it, I'm going to tackle this guy because that's what's the right thing to do." So, like I said, I don't remember their names, but good on them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
no
doubt.
Especially when
that was a cool video.
the person doing the firing is like 110 pounds soaking wet, and you're standing there as an ex-football player, 200 and something pounds. If your ass doesn't tackle him, there's something wrong with you. So I gotta say, that's why I sit on the aisle in the airplane, man. You just never know, and if something's gonna happen, I'm gonna be the first one. So I don't need to push anybody out of the way. But all right, man. Well, Jacob, this is about you and your company. So let's talk Scent Thief. I know we had the luxury of using your product this year. I know for me personally and my son got his first deer thanks to your product on a windy, swirly day down in the creek bottom here. And I don't think there's any way he would have got that if it wasn't for your product. So let's talk about, I guess, the basics of what everyone does, and then we'll get off that real quick because we don't want to be like everybody else. But talk about the company, how it started, and kind of the mission behind it.
Yeah, no, that's congratulations for your kid. That's always exciting when he's able to get his first deer. And we're obviously stoked that we were a part of that and able to help him do that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, with Scent Thief, I mean, I think that's kind of where we're starting to separate ourselves from our competitors, is that everybody that has success with Scent Thief they're in that situation where it's swirling winds, it's marginal winds. Something's not quite right, where typically they would get busted or they wouldn't have success, and they're having success now. And so I think that a lot of our new customer base is coming to us with those same stories and same reactions. And a lot of them that come up to us in the shows are like, what is this stuff? We have never seen anything work like this. So being a part of the company and working with the company, that's really positive for me to see. And it's exciting for me to be a part of a company that people are this fired up about, and to have stories like that is really cool. So, but Scent Thief itself is completely different than anything that's on the market. And sometimes I feel like a snake oil salesman when I say that. So why it's different is it's just a blend of essential oils. Our inventor, Russell Epperson, kind of stumbled on this formula when he was 17 years old. He made his money through trapping. He was a diesel mechanic, but he made his money through trapping. And every day after school, he would just study the ears, eyes, nose, mouth, and throat at the library. And his mom would pick him up every day. And he was kind of led down the path of essential oils. He knew that there was something with essential oils and how it affected the nose and the epithelium and your olfactory nerve and all that stuff that goes on up there. And then one day he combined these essential oils together, thought he screwed up, and all of a sudden he couldn't smell anything. And so he wondered what was going on there. And then he made his own baits for trapping. And so he would extract his own pure skunk essence and whatever, and whip up his own baits. And he couldn't smell the skunk. And that's when he was kind of like, what's going on? Something's not quite right. I should definitely be able to smell this right now. And so he took
COVID.
Yeah, right. People call it COVID in a bottle. We're like, hey, no, it's not that. Take it easy. So he tells me that he took his skunk essence up to his mom and was like, hey, smell this. What do you smell? And she couldn't smell anything. So then he was like, okay, I found something here. And in its original form, it was in a wax form. So he would dip his traps in the wax, and then he would mix the wax up with like peat moss or dirt and put it over the trap. And he said that overnight he went from catching about 5 coyotes a year to over 80, and it just blew up for him.
Crazy.
And I don't know a whole lot about trapping, but I know that that's pretty telling of you've got something special.
Absolutely.
My favorite story of the trapping side of it, and I don't know, do any of you guys trap?
I don't personally, but my buddy of mine does a lot.
Yeah. So he tells me that obviously he knew that he had something special when he couldn't smell the skunk, but when he really was blown away by it and thought that this was something next level, was he caught the most mature coyote that he could, and tagged it, and then he let it go, and he caught that same coyote 5 different nights on 5 separate sets.
Holy crap.
And he said that if that coyote had any idea that trap was there or something was off, there's no chance that he would have caught it. And so that told him that what he had was completely unrecognizable to any animal, and it didn't matter how many times they came in contact with it, they couldn't remember it, and they could not figure out what it was. So fast forward a couple of years, he turns it into a field spray. So he just takes that base essential oil formula, mixes it with water, and that just helps it dissipate out. And basically, anytime anything with a nose, it doesn't matter. Actually, the stronger an animal's sense of smell is, the more effective our product is. Anytime an animal gets our product in their nose, they are unable to recognize any other smell.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
There's a lot of products out there that claim that they have the answer. And there's a lot of really good products out there too that probably definitely help you. But they either use an enzyme, chemical, or cover scent to try to eat at your human odor or overpower some animals' noses. Problem with that is that if you spray down at the truck, guys, and you walk to your stand and you sweat a little bit, you're back to ground zero. It's almost like you didn't spray down at all. I mean, your body is constantly emitting odors, and there's no amount of chemicals or enzymes that's going to get rid of that. And so we just take a different approach to the problem, and we shut down the animal's ability to recognize any odor, period. So when they come in contact with scent thief, they can feel when you smell scent thief, everybody smells something a little bit different, but everybody feels like a warming or cooling sensation in their nose. And we get this really well. We can show this really well at our trade shows. But everybody feels that warming sensation. And so those animals definitely feel that warming or cooling sensation in their nose. But what's happening is that warming or cooling sensation is the numbing of your epithelium, and your olfactory nerve has absolutely no idea what's going on. So it can't transmit anything to your brain. And so animals, they don't associate it with anything because they've never experienced that before. And they don't really know that they're smelling anything. They just can feel that cooling sensation in the nose. And you can see it with white-tailed deer. They'll stick their nose up in the air, try to figure out what's going on. But anybody that's hunted with it and has seen the results of it, after about 3 minutes, they go put their nose back down and go back to doing whatever they were doing. So it's an interesting product that works completely different. And our biggest challenge is explaining that to people, kind of what I just told you guys. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun to play around with and experiment. Seems like we find new applications for it every day.
That's awesome.
So can you break down the ingredients for us? I mean, part by part?
I can't. I can't. No.
Yeah.
We'll
start taking notes.
It would actually really surprise you how simple the formula is.
Oh, I
mean, it's just I mean, it's just sheer luck that Russell was able to, and he'll tell you this, it's just sheer luck that he was able to find this formula and find this combination, and not only the oils that we use, but how we combine them. I mean, it was almost a fluke deal, and it really changed his life. So it was good. But we have 2 patents on the product. We have a patent on the oils that we use and how we combine them. And then we have another patent on actually what it does to affect the nose. So that second patent states that we created a whole new element of smell. So there's nothing that's ever been created or brought to market before that affects your nose in the way that scent thief does.
So how long has it been on the market?
Well, Russell has been in development for over 40 years. He's really had it his whole life, but he wasn't into marketing or into business or anything like that. So really the scent, I don't have a bottle around me right now, but the scent thief bottle that you guys see right now, it's been on the market for about 5 years. Okay. We had a previous iteration of bottle and labeling that was a little bit different, that was on the market for a little bit longer than that. But the modern day scent thief that you guys see, this is the start of year 5. So
awesome.
Formula hasn't changed at all. Nothing has changed except for the labeling, and that's just for marketing purposes. But formula from day one has always been the same.
Great. Yeah, it's very, very recognizable bottle too. Your guys' logos and marketing and everything else. So it's nice. It stands out.
Yeah, and we'll get
I think we'll
get a snapshot of it put up there right here.
A little bit of rebranding is nice.
Sometimes I think we hit the ball out of the park with that. I think that it's something that grabs your attention off the shelves. I think our quarter pallet displays really grab your attention. And so, I know that there's new products all the time, and hunters can bounce from one thing to the next year after year. But I think that, like what you guys said, that our labeling and our marketing is something else that sets us apart as well, besides the effectiveness of our product. So
100%. I specifically liked the like the hanging tabs that you had that come in the pack. You rip them open.
Yeah.
You hang them.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. The wafers, they so
Yep.
down here we have a couple box blinds that my son and I and my kids hunt out of, and so we'd put them in the windows, and then before we leave, we'd zip them back up, and it really worked well for the amount of time and the longevity of them. If you remember to close them up and save them, you get a couple hunts out of them. But what you said about the nose piece for me is it had like a Vicks vapor rub effect. Like, so when you first open it and you put it near your nose, you're like, oh, it like burns, but it's cool at the same time. So it's like, then there's nothing. You're like, oh, well, okay. When you first do it, you're like, this stuff's not going to work. And then all of a sudden, when you're down there and you see the deer come in and wherever you sprayed it, they're just like, they start licking their nose and they don't even know what's going on with it. They're confused completely. So it definitely works. I mean, I can vouch that it works, and it's a really cool product. And the wafers, that sold me on it. When I opened those wafers up and used them, I was like, this is genius. It's like, you don't need a spray, you don't need anything. You hang it up there. And I mean, you could even put that out 10 yards from you if you wanted to. It was really cool product.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the wafer is quickly becoming one of our most popular products. We're actually sold out of them right now. So we're building some product and trying to make some more of them to get them to dealers as soon as we can. But yeah, you're right. The cool thing about the wafer is that where the field spray is our essential oil and water mixture to help it dissipate a little bit more, the wafer is just the base oil. So it is as concentrated of scent thief as you can possibly get. And the idea behind it was that, we want you to be able to get 48 hours out of it. And so when you take it out of the pouch and it's a fresh wafer, if you leave it in open air, you'll get 48 solid hours out of it. But it, like you said, it does come in a resealable pouch. So the cool thing about it is the material that we use in the wafer, you can spray it down with a field spray, zip it back up in its pouch, and it'll soak those oils back up. And every time you do that, it's going to extend its life another 24 hours. So,
nice.
We've used the one wafer throughout the whole season. We just did exactly what you said. We just put it back in its pouch, soak it up, let it soak those oils up, and then pop it back out, and we're ready to roll.
Awesome.
So
that's awesome. I'm sitting there thinking about, I got a Canada hunt coming up first week of May, and not being able to take a bottle on the plane, be nice to have those wafers. So
if you can get them,
if you can get them,
Jacob's got a
so
pack.
You got one right there, right?
Yeah, inside deal right here. What kind of hunting are you doing up in Canada?
Bear
hunting. What province?
I'm not sure. It's in Alberta, but I don't know exactly the location. It's my first year to go with them.
Awesome. Yeah, Alberta is beautiful. We actually just got back from a moose hunt from Alberta, but we've been up to Ontario on a black bear hunt too, and used scent thief. And we kind of had an interesting experience. I'm glad you bring this up because we're constantly experimenting with scent thief. I mean, like I said earlier, we find new applications for it every day, and we're finding more effective ways to use it. And so one thing that we learned when we were bear hunting up in Canada was that when you bear hunt, you hunt over a bait, and the bait that you use is like molasses, donuts. It's all sweet, goody stuff. And man, we were sitting in ground blinds, and we heard movement all around us all day. And it was weird because there was rustling in the bushes, and then they would leave, and then they would come back, and then they would leave. And it took us a couple of days to figure out that we were spraying scent thief in our blind, and we were spraying scent thief around the bait.
I know you're going with it.
And those bears would smell it from miles away. They would come in within a certain distance, and then all of a sudden they would lose it. And so they would turn back around and walk back to where they could smell it again. And then they would work their way back in, hit scent thief, and they would lose it and walk back out. So that was actually the hunt where we started to address, look, if you're hunting over an attractant or if you're hunting over a bait, you have to be very conscious of setting that bait outside of your scent cone or outside of the area that it might touch scent thief, because those animals might be able to smell it at a certain distance, but the second that they hit scent thief, they're going to lose it. And obviously if they can see it, they're going to come to it. They know where it's at. But if they're in like really thick brush and they can't see it directly, there's a chance that they might turn around and walk back to where they can smell it again. So that was an interesting hunt. And that was interesting how we addressed it and kind of how we changed our strategy a little bit. So we just hung wafers and sprayed just the blind just to cover our immediate area. and we tried to keep it away from the bait. And the next day we shot a bear. So
Oh, nice.
it turned out pretty good.
So what is the recommended
yeah.
distance that you would say? Because I know for me, I mean, I've seen deer affected 20, 25 yards with it from where, and we didn't spray anything out there. That was just using a wafer. If the wind's the right way. So, I mean, what would be, say you're in Ohio and you can hunt over a bait pile, right? And it's, would it be 30 yards, 40 yards? What would be the recommendation by you all?
Yeah, it's the same thing in Kansas. We can hunt over bait. So in our farm in Kansas, we can hunt over feeders. And so most of the deer that we shoot are inside of 40 yards. But the the catch-all with scent thief is that it really just depends on what the weather's doing. Our recommended reapplication time is 60 to 90 minutes just to get it in the air and keep it in the air. But if the wind's really swirling and it can carry scent thief, I mean, I don't know. There's no telling how far it'll carry out. Just as long as it dissipates out wherever the wind's blowing, man, I would say that you could probably get it to go travel 80 to 100 yards, I would say, maybe. But I don't know. We've never tested that.
Yeah.
I was hunting out in Ohio December-ish of last year, obviously, and I had the most stubborn doe coming in, and same thing. So wind started swirling bad, and I mean 15, 20 mile an hour winds, and starts blowing right at her. And so I look like freaking oh, what the heck, like just a pistolier. I'm out there just spraying it, and I'm putting it everywhere I can. And she was at about 100, 120 yards, and I could see her starting to like trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then she couldn't figure it out. And so then she's at 100 yards, then she's at 80. And like you could tell she like kept wanting to get closer because she just couldn't figure it out. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I mean, she was
it
out
almost
there.
has,
it was a poke. I mean, it was 100, 120 yards at least.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like when you turn it to the mist setting, it stays in the. I mean, it doesn't just fall straight down. It stays in the air quite a while. So if those oils are swirling around wherever that wind carries it, and it doesn't take much, guys. As soon as an animal gets even a little bit of it, it's crazy. They just shuts them down completely. I mean, I think that like I said earlier, I think they get that warming, cooling sensation in their nose. But not to get too far off track, but the final essential oil that we put in our product, we actually got from a university in Sydney, Australia, and they use that final. It's the earth smell. So the earth smell that we put into our final essential oil blend, the zoos in Sydney, Australia use it to calm wildlife before their zookeepers go into the enclosures to work with the animals. And so it has a natural calming effect to it. And that's the final essential oil that we put in our product. So not only do they feel that cooling and warming and almost soothing sensation, kind of like that Vicks Vapor Rub feeling, but that earth essence oil puts them in kind of a calm, relaxed state. So like Cedric said, you can see them point their nose in the air, but they're curious about it. They want to see what it is. And I think that earth essence oil has something to do with that. I think it kind of draws them in and puts them in a relaxed state, and they just feel comfortable in that environment. So
it's funny you say that, as far as like the kind of curious and comforting, they're unsure of what it is, but it's not something that scares them, because I know I put some videos out. My cousin came up here and he's from Kansas. I'm originally from Kansas. And so he grew up rifle hunting, everything else. But this year or last season was his first time ever archery hunting. And we used scent thief the whole time he was here. And we have several videos of the first couple of days we saw a bunch of deer, which is always how it happens. And he passed a couple of small bucks. And then, of course, that shut down. We didn't see any the rest of the trip. But those videos, the younger bucks, they're always inquisitive anyways. But you could just see them. They would catch that scent. They would catch something. And then several of them come right to the base of our tree, where we had sprayed it, because we would spray down at the truck a little bit and then walk in. And then same thing, you're putting out more scent. So we'd spray down before we climbed the tree and before we get settled in. And so there's all that scent thief right there at the base of the tree. And I've got several videos looking straight down at little button bucks and a couple spikes. And they would look up at us and look around. And it's like they knew something was different, and they knew they smelled something. Or at the same time, it's like, well, now we don't smell anything. So they just don't know what's going on. They just kind of look around. But to your point, it doesn't scare them, because that's the first thing I know. And Paul brought it up too. First time I ever smelled it, I'm like, well, if I can smell it, they're going to smell it, and that's what everybody thinks is like, well, geez, this smells like something. So why wouldn't it scare a deer? But once you understand how the product actually works, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. And that is something that we hear a lot of. We get a lot of people that I think that Amazon's interesting. The Amazon reviews are interesting because I think it's a lot of people that just buy stuff just to try it out and they don't really understand what it is. And so the same thing that you just said, we get a lot of people that smell it and they're like, there's no way, dude. There's no way I'm using this and this is going to be effective. This smells like, a lot of people think it smells like diesel or kerosene or something like that. But to go back to what you're saying about the young deer, it's kind of fun to watch the young deer because they're a little aloof and they're not that alert, but the mature does and the older bucks are the ones that are really important to fool. And so those are the ones that are cool to see interact with it. But also we get a lot of people that ask us exactly what you said. Does it scare the deer? And it doesn't. And it's hard to tell that to somebody to be like, oh no, this product doesn't scare the deer. Buy it and try it out. See for yourself. But I mean, it doesn't. And I think a lot of it has to do with that final essential oil that we put into our product that kind of relaxes them a little bit. But man, in all of the animals that we've tested it on, I would say that it's that numbing effect. I think it's that cooling, soothing sensation to their nose. It's almost like, this kind of feels good. I don't know what it is, but I've never smelled it before. It's definitely not alarming. It's definitely not associated with any kind of danger that I've ever experienced before. So it doesn't spook them. So I think that every smell,
those people leaving those reviews about it smelling and I'm never going to use it, man, they never smelt nose jammer before because that shit's like vanilla cake out there, right?
Yeah.
You smell like you're at a dessert party or something. But no, it's definitely it does. I don't think I've been able to put my finger on what it actually smells like though. Troy, you said it the best. Like, I know we used it when you were up here. It's like, it smells like something, but I'm not sure what it smells like.
Well, and you guys were talking about the wafers, and I know, like I said, my cousin and I, he was amazed because growing up rifle hunting and everything else, I mean, every once in a while you might get close to something, but for the most part, you're 100 yards or more away. And he lives in Western Kansas, so he's trying to chase mule deer all the time. So he might be 400 or 500 yards away trying to get within 150 yards to make a shot, with a rifle. So he was just in awe with, we had does right underneath us and those little bucks and everything else. And then he ended up shooting 2 does while he was here. Each of them was right around 20, 25 yards. And what I practiced and I messed with those wafers was how you guys talked about. I didn't like, after I sprayed that stuff on me personally, I didn't like spraying it on myself anymore because I would catch the scent of it throughout my hunt or in the back of my mind, I'd be like, well, do I need to respray myself or whatever? So my personal opinion, I didn't like spraying myself, but I did like putting that wafer. And like Paul said, I would actually sit there in the, before I climbed the tree in my saddle, say, okay, I think the deer coming from, the east or whatever, the wind's out of this direction. Well, I would go 10 yards away from my tree and hang a wafer where I thought they were coming from and where I thought my men might go. And so I didn't even, the rest of the hunt, I didn't have to worry about, am I casting scent where I think they're going to be or come from because I already have a wafer placed out in the tree. You know what I mean? So it was an awesome product for us to try out.
Good. Yeah. So one thing that I haven't done before is hunted with just a wafer. We actually don't recommend that you hunt with just the wafer. And that's just because
it works.
This is a product that, well, the wafer was actually designed to be used in tandem with the field spray. So one of the things with Scent Thief is that it in order for it to work, it has to be present. And because it's a water and oil-based product, it evaporates. And when it evaporates, there's nothing that's left behind. There's no residue or chemicals or anything. And so that's why we tell people that the number one most important thing about our product is that you have to reapply about every 60 to 90 minutes. But that's also why we came up with the wafers. So if you're one of those hunters where you're in a situation where you cannot spray because you're going to move too much to do it, the idea is that the wafer is going to have you covered because it lasts so long. So yeah, I mean, like I said, that's one thing that I haven't done is hunt with just a wafer. But I know that there's a lot of people out there that do just that and they have results with it. But we wouldn't recommend using just the wafer. This is a product that the more that it's in the air, the more effective it's going to be. There is a point where you are not using enough of it. Again, just because of the evaporation rate, You never know what the weather's going to be doing. It might be really hot and windy. It's going to evaporate a little bit quicker than if it's like a cool, humid day. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it just varies from hunter to hunter.
So
I
if
love-
it's a oil like that, is it something that could be like in a dryer sheet or something that you guys can do? So like if you reactivate, you know how they have like those you know, those the whatever you throw them in, it reactivates the, you know, the no scent or whatever. But considering that it's an oil, is it something that you'd be able to do something like that down the road? I would think it
Yeah, I
might be
definitely
able
think that we
to,
could.
yeah. You know, you come out of hunting, whatever, or before you go, you throw it in the dryer or whatever with a couple of those, you know, scent thief sheets, or, you know, just throwing it out there. Maybe it'd work. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, I definitely think that we could. The tricky thing with dryer sheets in the dryer is most of the time that heat breaks everything down. And it doesn't matter what you're using. If you're using a chemical based product or an enzyme based product, when it goes through that tumbler and that extreme heat, a lot of it breaks down anyway. So
Or like
if
a
you can get
cool
your
tumble or
clothes
something.
right, yeah, and I think that there's definitely some options for that, and that might be an avenue that we pursue in the future. But to answer what you just said about the dryer sheets, what I do is I wash my clothes in the Scent Thief laundry detergent. I don't use a dryer sheet, but I put it in the dryer.
Okay.
But then what I do to make sure that those oils are embedded in the clothing fiber is I take a couple of the wafers and I throw them in the hunting tote. So I open a wafer, throw it in my hunting tote,
There you
close
go.
it, close that back up. That
Yeah.
wafer kind of dissipates and those oils get even a little bit more into and you can really smell it when you open that tote back up.
That's
So,
a great idea.
yeah, that's been really good for us. And that's one of those things where I think probably one of the best things about Scent Thief for me has been being able to take my wife hunting. She's not a hunter. She's not really into the outdoors like all of us are. But I don't have to worry about prepping with her. You know, I don't have to worry about making sure her clothes are right or she's showered right. I pull those clothes out of the hunting tote that has been soaking in that Scent Thief oil, and I spray her down and I apply it every 60 to 90 minutes. We don't even think about it. And so she was actually with me this year when I shot my deer. And that, you know, a lot of people are saying it's only because of this product, but the reason that we were able to do that because she didn't prep at all. She came straight from work with me and sat in the stand. The reason that we were able to do that and kind of sneak around all those deer was because of Scent Thief.
Yeah.
And so if I have a product that allows me to do that, and there's a product that allows other people to experience that and kind of have that same situation that I did, you know, great. That's what we want. We want people to have those situations.
Hey,
That's what I was. That's
careful.
what.
You got to be careful what you wish for, though. Sometimes the woods are a peaceful place. You know what I mean? So.
I know.
That's what it was
Oh,
like for
that's
me.
funny.
That's what it was like for me out in Ohio, though. Because we're hunting on Josie's parents have like 200 acres out there, and Josie's my wife, and so we're out there hunting, and she does, you know, obviously, you know, she's the one that helps me with all of our photography and all that stuff, and videography and all that stuff, and so we're going and we're getting ready to go out, and she comes out smelling like a perfume factory, man, and I'm just like, and we're chasing like a pretty good buck out there, and I'm like, gosh, dang it, like this stuff better work. And so we get out there and I saddle hunt a lot. And I mean Troy does too. And so I keep that spray, I mean, right in one of my saddlebags and put the wafer up there. And like you said, every 60 to 90 minutes, I've got it on like the little jet, you know, the little jet side or whatever, to where it really reaches out there and get it on the foliage. And then I also put it on the mist and just get it all around the tree that we're in, you know.
Dump the bottle on your wife.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And man, I mean, obviously we didn't kill anything. But I mean, we had deer around us all the time. I mean, and
Yeah.
early season, September, I was chasing a really good buck out here in Missouri. And well, I mean, you know, September out here in Missouri, I mean, hot, hot, hot. You're sweating like crazy. And I just hanging hunted and doing we're hunting like down in like a little valley. And next thing I know, I've got probably about a 3-year-old 135, 140-inch buck right behind me, completely downwind. Didn't even think about a deer coming that way. And the next thing I know, he's right there and I'm just frozen, you know, like, oh crap. And this is actually, I think, the first time that I used Scent Thief. And I was like, oh God, like this isn't good. Cause I'd been sweating, trying to hang everything up. And I'm like, this isn't good. like this is not where he needs to be. And the next thing I know, he's at 20 yards. I mean, and he's just looking around, not doing anything. And I'm like, oh my God, I should probably shoot this buck, but I'm probably gonna pass on him. But still, I mean, it works, man. I mean, unless you use it, I mean, like you said, it's easy for somebody to sit here and tell you like it works, buy it, but man, you got to see it for yourself. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
I'm gonna have to try it on hogs because their nose is 10 times more than a whitetail's, and it's just crazy how hard it is to fool those guys. And we do a lot of hog hunting down here, so I'm excited to try it.
I actually have an opportunity to go hog hunting towards the end of May, and so that'll be a really good opportunity for me to, because I've never been hog hunting, period. But I've heard exactly what you just said, that hogs have some of the best noses. So it'll be fun to test that out. But yeah, we have people that have hog hunted with it, so we know that it works. And all the testing that we've done, it seems to us that the more effective or the more potent an animal's nose is, the more effective it is. I mean, predators don't even stop. They just blow right through it. They don't even stop to try to figure out what's going on. It's almost like there's nothing there. The slower grazing animals will definitely stop, and you can see them pick their nose up. I think that's just because they move slower. But those predators, dude, it's almost like there's nothing there. It's weird.
Yeah.
It is. It's almost a little spooky to see.
Have you tried it on elk? Has anyone tried it elk hunting yet?
Yeah. So actually, my dad is the owner of the company, and he bought the company after an elk hunt, the first time that he ever used Scent Thief. So
nice.
My dad, he's been elk hunting for a long time, hadn't had any success, and then his most recent one where he killed his first elk, they gave him a bottle of Scent Thief, and same reaction that we talked about earlier. He smelled it and he was like, "No way, no, not a chance. I'm not using this." And the guide was like, "Just trust us. Just take it, spray down, keep reapplying." And so they sat him at a watering hole in a tree stand where there were just bad thermals, but they had elk on the camera all over the place. But anytime that they would sit somebody in that stand, nothing would show up. And it was because of the thermals. I mean, everything would just switch all the time. And so he went and sat in that tree stand, was spraying down Scent Thief, and he said that he was just in awe of how many elk were around. There were 40 elk at this watering hole in front of him. He said he had a mom and a baby lay down and bed down at the base of his tree. And he didn't even pull his bow out. It was one of those situations where he was like, "This is incredible. I'm just going to sit and take this in. I'm just going to watch it." So he came back to camp that night and was, obviously taken aback, like couldn't figure out what was going on. They just thought it was a fluke deal. Went back out the next night, sat in the same spot, had the same thing happen. And so he shot his first elk there. Nice. And after that, he was like, we got to figure out what this is. And at the time, Russell he didn't know what to do with the company. It wasn't going anywhere. And so it was a good opportunity for us to kind of come in and bring it up to where it is today. So it worked out good for us. But yeah, sorry, full circle. Yes, we have used it on elk. And it works really well on elk. We actually just tested it in Alberta on a moose hunt, and first time my dad and I have ever been moose hunting. First time we've ever seen a moose in person. We went on a 10-day hunt, and both of us were tagged out by day 4. So
nice.
It's just one of those things where we have yet to find a situation where it doesn't work.
Is there an animal you haven't tried it on that you want to?
I would love to try it on mountain lion. I would love to go on a mountain lion hunt. I think that probably the animals that we haven't tested on as much as I would like to are number 1, mule deer, and number 2 are elk, probably. But the cool animals that we've had a lot of chance to test it on, most of Russell's field testing was done over in Africa. So Russell worked for a doctor in Butler, Missouri forever. And this doctor is a trophy hunter and has hunted almost everything across the globe. I mean, in the office, the mounts that he has is just unreal. And so most of the product testing of Scent Thief was done on African animals. So there's a lot of animals that we've tested it on, but yeah, mule deer is probably my number 1 that I would like to test it on.
Yeah. It's got to be very similar to whitetail and stuff like that, but we can definitely get you. I know I'm going elk hunting this year. So we'll have it on that. And if you want to go mountain lion hunting, I have the connection for that. So you give me a call. We can go out there and chase some lions with some dogs. It's pretty fun. So
Paul, I'm all for it, man.
yeah,
sign me up. I'm in. I love it.
We're it's a good experience. So you'll be the dogs are just, I know we spoke about it on our last cast a lot, you know, Troy and I, but it was they're just something else. It's something else to watch, you know. But no, I think that um you know, going back to what Cedric said earlier, you know, like how you really don't know the product works unless you try it, right? And you can sit here and listeners out there, you know, saying, oh, well, they're just pushing a product. Well, first of all, we're not paid for doing this. Second of all, I emailed you a couple weeks ago, said, when's your availability? Do you want to come on? You said yes. Third of all, like, we've used this all year. So we're real hunters. Like, we just go out, we hunt, you know, Troy hunts all the time. Cedric, Noel, all of us, we all hunt. We all use it and it works. So for those of you that are questioning it, take the chance with it because it definitely works if you use it in the appropriate way. And you use it, and it can definitely, like, we're not saying go in a terrible wind on a bad day and a stand that you should not even be like, you got to be smart, right? You still got to be a hunter. It's not going to make up for stupidity. Excuse me for those out there that think that's offensive, but it's true. You know, like, it's not going to cover stupidity, but it's going to cover those, you know, you have an east wind and all of a sudden the wind swirls or whatever, and it's, you know, swirls for a little bit in the bottom and there just happens to be a deer there. Like, it's going to save your butt in that situation. You know, or something comes in close and it's there and you're sweating, like, you know, Cedric's situation where he's just putting up a stand and everything like that, or Troy, you know, where they're coming right under you. It's going to give you that little bit of buffer, and whatever we can do as hunters to give us that advantage, I think is worth trying. I mean, honestly, I've tried everything. I mean, I'm the one, the first time, I'll say it, like, when I went out to Illinois hunting all the time, they loved nose jammer. Like, that was their thing. Like, use it. Well, I'm like, well, they love it, so I'm gonna spray it all over me. Well, 10 minutes into the hunt, I realized I'm sticky like freaking melted cotton candy, and everything's sticking to me, and I can't feel my face because everything's sticking to me. The bugs are flying, they're sticking to me, and I'm like, holy crap, I should never do that again. And they're like, well, you're not supposed to spray it on yourself. I'm like, well, thanks for the warning. So but you know, it's definitely you know, I use the field spray as well, and you know, my son and daughter, they're twins, they're 9 years old. I have no problem spraying them down because it's a all natural essential oil product. Like, I don't feel bad spraying it on them as a father, and that's big for me. That's big, you know. So
it's no different than a broadhead. Well, it's no different than a broadhead, right? I mean, broadheads work great, but you're not supposed to shoot a deer in the freaking shoulder, right? I mean, it's probably not gonna work if you shoot a deer right in that knuckle. Just not gonna happen. So
no matter what you got.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not gonna happen. So you still have to be a woodsman. You still got to be in the right place. You still got to take all these things into consideration. It's gonna give you that edge, right? That's you know what we're looking for.
Yeah, we've all had that swirl.
Yeah, definitely. Hunting is always going to be hunting, and if you're an outdoorsman and you're a hunter, still treat it that way. This is just that final thing that's going to give you that bit of edge. Now, if you find yourself in a really not ideal situation, that's where we get our most fanatical users is those people that are like, man, wind switched on me, blowing right to those deer.
Start spraying. Start spraying.
And that's kind of where we
make it rain.
Get a lot of our right. Yeah. But yeah, no, to Paul, to your point about the essential oils and being able to spray it on your kids, that's something that is really important to me, and something that I always, no matter how much Scent Thief grows or how many more products we get, that's the thing that we're going to make sure is always an essential part of our product. You know, it's safe. If you get it on your skin, you're fine. If you can get anything wet, you can spray it with Scent Thief. If you get it in your eyes, if you ingest some, you're fine. It's safe. Yeah. There's nothing that you need to worry about that. And I know that there's not too many products out there in the hunting space that can do that and be confident in that. And so I think that that's besides how effective Scent Thief is, I think that that's a huge part of our success and will be a huge part of our success in the future.
Oh, absolutely. I
Is,
know for me
you
that
know,
was number one when I got the package in the mail from you and Cedric, and trying it out and doing some reviews and looking at it. Like that was number one for me, is like, am I willing to spray this on my 8, 9 year old child? Like,
mhm.
there's a lot of stuff out there that I'm not willing to do that for. And I'm not by any means anyone that's like, oh, overly cautious, but it's with this day and age and everything that causes issues, like you got to be a little bit smart, and to not have to
Yeah.
think about that or worry about that, especially in our space, that means a lot. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I am. I'll say it. I am. I'm overly cautious about all that stuff. I mean, I've kind of gone down the rabbit hole of, you know, all these endocrine blockers and all this fragrance stuff that's going around, and you see all this stuff on Instagram and TikTok, and a lot of the stuff that we've been using our whole lives is turning out not good for you. It actually causes a lot of,
yep.
adverse health effects to it. And so I think that I don't know for sure, man, but I do feel that there's more and more people out there that are paying attention to that and kind of starting to move in that direction.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think
Yeah.
anytime you have a product that you don't have to worry about that stuff with, I think that's a bonus. I think that's a really good thing. So
Yeah, it's one less worry,
yeah,
one
exactly.
less thing to think about. But cool,
Yeah.
man. So I mean, for me, obviously, you spoke about the product. It works. We're going to continue to use it. I know I'm going to continue to use it. I got, the proof is on the wall. So we're glad for that. But I got some personal questions for you. So
Yeah.
let's talk about this year. Like as a hunter, right, and an avid outdoorsman, what makes you happy at the end of the year? So what fulfills you as a hunter? So for some it is shooting the biggest buck they can. For others it's filling the freezer. For other, like, what's the checkbox for you?
Yeah. Well, I hesitate to say this because I know that not everybody can say this, but for me, it's the amount of time that I'm able to spend in the woods and just to be with nature. But I'm one of those people that if I sit in a blind from sunrise to sunset, I'm happy. I enjoy being out there and seeing that. But the thing that makes me happier than anything is seeing other people have success. I love seeing my dad kill his 215-inch deer that he did this year. I love seeing my grandpa kill a deer. My mom shooting hers with a bow. Like that stuff is what makes me happy. If I'm there with a camera and I'm filming it and I don't shoot anything, I'll be just as happy leaving there if I get good stuff on film as if I put something in the freezer. It's just, I enjoy being in God's creation and seeing that and feeling like I'm a part of it and I'm contributing to it in a positive way. So that's what makes me happy, is just being there and being surrounded by it.
Awesome. Cedric, same question.
Man, I'd probably have to piggyback off that. I mean, I've never killed a giant deer. I really don't. Really doesn't matter to me if I kill a giant deer, right? I mean, just enjoy being out there, man. I just enjoy getting to share that, like Josie and I, the more and more we do what we do, we get to share the woods together. I think I think that's probably it. How much I get to share the woods with her, I would say is a big, has actually, it's actually kind of funny, like how it shifted. Is it used to be like, that was like my, like, not get away from my wife, because I love my wife, but like that was like my time, right? Like that was your, we all know it, right? Like that was your time in the woods. But man, it's crazy. Like it shifted with the more that her and I have kind of started doing what we're doing. She leaves with me here in 3 weeks to head out to Nebraska to turkey hunt. And then we're dropping down into Kansas to turkey hunt, back up into Iowa, back here in Missouri, and then we're heading down to Texas. That's a gauntlet for her to run with me and go do all that stuff. And then September we're out in Colorado elk hunting together. Then we're pronghorn hunting out in Wyoming. And then just it goes on and goes on. So honestly, I think it's just how much time her and I get to bond and share that experience together. So that's probably the biggest thing to me.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
That's
a
huge.
really good answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Newlyweds.
That's because she's sitting right next to him.
I'm just kidding.
No,
And
she's
has a
actually-
baseball bat.
She actually just pulled up. She's out in the driveway.
Oh,
So,
okay, cool.
yeah.
Wow. Come on, Noel, your turn. As a tenured hunter and everything that you've done in the outdoor space and industry, I would assume at some point that changes, right? So there's that checkbox of, oh, I want to shoot a deer, or, oh, I want to shoot a bigger deer, or, oh, I want to shoot a giant deer, or I want to shoot a bear, or whatever that is. But at some point there has to be that evolution of that box. And I know it's happened for me, in my career. What is it for you?
You know, I've got to, first off, I got to go with what Jacob said as well. That just being time in the woods, because especially the older you get, and with kids and everything, that tends to dwindle a little bit. When you're Cedric's age, you can pretty much do what you want to do. As long as the wife says it's okay. But then once you have kids, us that have kids, we know that. I got 4 daughters, so I mean that takes up a lot of time. So the time that I do get to spend, it's really precious time. And then second to that is just being with friends, because I got a group of friends that we've talked about. It's the guys I'm going to Canada with as well, and I mean that's a bond that you can't do without once you have it. You know what I mean? It's just such close friendships and the time that we get to spend together. But, going back and, I've never shot a really, really big deer. I mean, he's 152. That's the biggest deer I've ever shot, but a heck of a deer. And, but I wouldn't care if it was a 200-inch deer, it's just kind of the same, but, it's just more the experience of getting to do everything, I've shot deer that's been on national TV, and that doesn't mean a thing to me. It really doesn't. First it did, but now it doesn't, because it's just like you said, it just kind of just goes from one thing to the next. And really and truthfully, a lot of times I just want to go back and just like it used to be, like it was when I was in my 20s and 30s, where I had time. So just that's kind of where I am on it. So it's just every moment I get to spend in God's country is it just means a lot.
Awesome. Troy, same question.
Yeah. It's going to be similar answers, because we all, hunters, we all have that brotherhood, if you will, that there's a reason that all of us enjoy the woods and we enjoy the hunt. But I mean, for me, the success of hunting has changed a lot over the years for me, because when I was a kid, the young, not a teenager, even young kid growing up pheasant hunting and quail hunting in Kansas, and the weekends are what I look forward to. A lot of us have that similarity where our parents worked however many hours a week, 60, 70 hours a week or whatever, and it was, as a kid, you look for that Saturday. All week long you're living for that Saturday when your dad's going to be home, you guys are going to go hunting, or you're going to do something. And when we'd go pheasant hunting or whatever growing up, he'd wake me up, it'd be dark outside. That was the life, though. That was the dream, was to wake up, go eat breakfast at some gas station, horrible breakfast or whatever, driving out in the middle of nowhere and walking all day long as a kid, carrying a gun and never shooting a thing, but loving every second of it. And that was that got me through to the next weekend or the next month or whenever. And then my personal path took me through the military, and I got away from that for years and years. I mean, honestly, for 15, 16 years, I was in Texas for a few years, and I was in Florida for a few years, and then I was overseas for a few years. And throughout my trips and everything, I was never stationed overseas, but I just was never in a position to pursue all those passions that I had as a kid. And so then moving here to Ohio brought it all full circle. And I know I've talked to you guys a little bit about it, but archery hunting has brought it full circle and then magnified it, because instead of being 100 yards, 150 yards, 200 yards away, you're 10 yards away, you're 15 yards away, and I grew up wearing flannels and brown coveralls and laying, on the hillside of a CRP field and just laying there. And, my dad's like, just be still and you'll be fine. Where now you're thinking about scent control and wind direction and where are they coming from? Where's their bedding? Where's their food?
Yeah.
So I guess to bring it all back, just being able to do it, just being able to have the opportunity now to pursue, being in the outdoors and hunting is what fulfills me. There's no, I shot a small buck here in Ohio, and taking people hunting fulfills me. I guess I'm not giving an exact answer, just kind of rattling off what's on my head here, but yeah, I can't wait for the opportunity to take my kids and to show them that passion and that love. And I bring it up all the time. And I tell people, whether you love hunting or you hate hunting, if you were just to go with someone, it doesn't have to be me, but if you were to go with me, any one of us on this show right now, and just let us show you what we love, you may not come away with it the same passion or the same enthusiasm that we have, but at least that experience. And you all know what it is like to go in the woods in the dark and wake up and nothing in the world knows you're there. It's such a different experience. And it just changes something about you when you do harvest that first buck or that first, hopefully I can't wait to go elk hunting someday and do all those different things, but just hunting grounds me. And that's just success to me, being able to get out and let go of all my stresses, all my worries, all those different things, and be that 10-year-old kid sitting against a telephone pole, praying that something was going to come out that I could shoot. But now I'm 35 and I got 3 kids of my own. It just brings back all those memories and all those years and all those miserable cold days when you can't feel your feet or your fingers, and your dad's like, I told you to dress warmer, go sit in the truck if you're gonna cry about it, or whatever. But hey, it's just that passion and that fire of, like you said, being in God's country, being in God's creation, and the opportunity to do it with friends and family, and it's all of it. I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, and Troy, by the way, that deer wasn't a small deer. He might not have been the biggest deer in the woods, but he's a deer than a lot of people's killed, and he was a nice deer. So,
well, I appreciate it. Yeah, but I guess to go back on that though, it doesn't. I even told Paul. I mean, the feeling I get in my heart when they come out and they give me that opportunity, and I know I can make a successful shot. It doesn't matter if it's a spike or it's a freaking, maybe someday it'll be a 200-inch buck. But I get the same feeling, whether I shoot a doe or a buck or whatever. It's that love and that passion for it. So,
yeah. Take what God gives you.
Yeah.
Paul, what about you?
Troy, it's funny how the moments that when we're in them, then they suck and our hands are cold and our feet are cold, and it's just like, why am I here? The next day you look back on it and you're like, man, I want to go back. Yeah, that was a good memory.
Yeah,
I want to do that again.
Yeah, I mean,
there's not a lot of things that you do that with.
No, and I can remember walking as a kid, young kid, and the grass was taller than me, wearing an orange hat, and my dad's buddies and all them just laughing and making fun, like as a little kid. And I couldn't see anything to shoot anything, even if I wanted to. But I guarantee I would walk all day and day if they let me. You know what I mean? So
hell yeah.
Go ahead.
We all
Paul,
have those memories as a kid and how cold it was. I remember we had they were drilling oil on the land I grew up hunting on, and my dad and I climbed on top of this white, it was I guess it was a tank that held the oil, and there was frost, and I was so cold that morning. And it's funny because I was like 8, and I still remember it to the day. It was like the coldest I've ever been in my life. But it's funny how we have those memories from when we were kids,
Oh yeah. Yep. Yes, we do.
But I wouldn't trade it for the world. I remember that hunt, and I'll always remember it.
That's what it's about.
Paul, what about you?
I've come a long way. I lost my grandfather last year, and he was a big part of hunting, and obviously the mounts behind me are his, and my montage to him. My dad has cancer, and he's a big part of my outdoor influence and everything there. So a lot of mixed emotions there. For me, it was always there's a couple parts to it. So everything that you all said, right? Obviously, we all feel the same. We're all hunters. We're all big into it. There was a part of me growing up, watching hunting shows and watching Bone Collector and Real Tree Outdoors and all this, and like you wanted to be them, right? And I remember my dad saying one day driving home from our hunting camp, like, you better get yourself a good job, son, because you can't do any of that unless you're rich. Right. And I made it my life goal to prove him wrong. That you didn't have to be rich to play this game if you did it right. And if you made good connections with people like yourselves on this platform, and all the other guests that we've had, and we've had some great ones on. We've also had some that have been great and turned out not to be. And you're going to get that in life, right? With everyone that's there. So you take it as a learning experience and you move on and you check that box. So for me, now it's about my kids, right? I get to take what my dad, my grandfather, and my uncles, and I think one day we're going to have a family podcast, and I'm going to have all my uncles on. And guys, it's like Jeff Foxworthy and freaking, the Incomplete Deer Hunter. It is that's how my uncles and stuff are. You guys would have a ball. So we'll do that one day. But it's, you know, my son says, let's go shoot our bows. I drop what I'm doing and I go shoot my bow with him. You know, let's go hunting. I drop what I'm doing and I go hunting. Like, you know, Dad, let's go kill a deer. Well, we can't go kill a deer today, but let's look up. What can we go kill? You know, what are we going to do with it? And then he's like, well, let's go squirrel hunting. Okay, but are you going to eat the squirrels? No. Okay, then why are we going to shoot them? Well, because there's a million of them. They annoy me in the tree stand. That's great, but everything has a purpose in life, right? And 30 years ago, we used to go pile up squirrels and just leave them, let the coyotes eat them, you know, use them as coyote bait, pile them up, and then go hunt coyotes at night or whatever. And, you know, now everything's got a purpose in life, and it's more or less trying to teach that. You know, the groundhog, it's digging up your barn. Let's go shoot it. Great. It's digging up the barn. I don't want to fix the barn again, but what is its purpose, right? Like, what is the reason for doing that? And, you know, I try to preach, and my wife and I try to preach, like, if we're going to shoot something, we're going to eat it, you know, and that's me. That's my value. There's plenty in my life that I've killed and just left there, like, whatever, you know, we've all done it. So, trying to instill that into them to be a good sportsman, to be someone who's going to cherish the land. You know, and I had a reality check this weekend. Like, I'm moving my shop and I'm putting in a 3D. I own an archery shop. I'm putting in a 3D archery range at a rec center and ripping up an old tennis court, and there's a bunch of old turf on it, and the turf is rubber based bottom, right? But now it looks like it's been there for 30 years. No one's ever played on it. It looks like a field. So I had to rent a bulldozer and I had to plow up all the things. And I wish Troy was there to do it for me, but you know, I learned pretty quick how to do it. And you know, after 10 loads to the dump and $500 later, I'm like, shit, man, I'm just going to go pick this up and dump it in the woods. And, you know, like, it's already part of the ground. But then, you know, my wife looks at me and is like, well, what are you teaching your son if you do that? Right? Like, that's a reality check of me. Like, me 20 years ago would have been like, F this, like, just do it. That's somebody else's problem. Right. But so I guess I'm kind of beating around the bush on the answers. It's multifaceted for me. Is I want to have a full freezer so my family can eat and eat all natural organic meat. You know, I had the luxury of shooting a moose this year, so I got tons of meat, you know, with that. I still have meat for my elk the year prior. My son shot 2 deer. You know, I shot a deer. Troy shot a deer. Like, we have tons of meat, so we're able to share that. We just did a meat swap. I was able to donate 150 pounds of moose meat to the local church to do a wild game cook. That brought them in money, brought in over, you know, 2,000 people, and the ladies made a bunch of moose meatloaf with it and everything. So that fulfilled a checkbox in my soul, for me to give back. So yeah, there's different levels of it. I'm still going to pursue that. You don't have to be rich to do this game. You know, this is not my, you know, with my archery shop and Romano Outdoors and Grace the Grill that I have on my other platform and here, you know, it's about the people and ensuring that the 12 to 13,000 followers plus that we have can have an outlet of real hunting and the opportunity to listen to real people talk about their experiences in life. And hopefully they can learn something. You know, we have a psychiatrist coming on in the next episode or two who's going to talk about mental problems and men's health and outdoor industry and all that. And, you know, suicide and child care and all that. So whatever we can do to try to give back, I think is the space for me. And, you know, someone like Cedric, like yourself, your evolution of hunting and then hunting with your wife, that's going to change again. You know, if and when you have kids one day, that's going to change again. Or, you know, Troy, if and when, you know, not if, but when, you know, I take you elk hunting, we're going to go, you know, you're going to get an elk, and then that's going to change. And, you know, I never thought I was going to shoot a moose. I never wanted to shoot a moose, but I had the opportunity to. So I shot a moose, and I shot a pretty damn good one, and I feel great about it. And, you
Best
know,
meat in the world.
You know, will I ever do it again? I don't know if I would ever do it again. You know, like, I never wanted to in the first place, but hell yeah, you know, like, it was a great opportunity. You know, I'd probably, like, if you twisted my arm and said, let's go for an Alaskan Yukon moose, I'd be like, okay, let's go. You know, like, I'm not going to say no. But, you know, there's certain things that you evolve as a hunter. You know, like I would rather, yeah, I'd rather shoot a doe than a basket 8-point buck. You know, like I would rather let my son shoot a spike or a 4-pointer. And, you know, in Virginia, you can do that on your own land. Like he's 8, 9, 10 years old. You can do that. That's fine. So I can't wait for the next step where I was looking at it today of when, you know, the elk draw and everything is, and when I can sign my son up for that and say, let's go, you know, you're going to go do that with me, or my daughter. So yeah, long-winded there, sorry. But there's a lot of, as you get older, I think the waves, if you think of an ocean, the waves of your hunting career change. Every wave's a little bit different. You know, we get the luxury of sitting here with you, Jacob, and talking about your product and your dad's and your company, and how great it is and it works. And, you know, we only know that because you trusted in us to promote your product, and, you know, it works, and you had the faith in it, and you knew it worked, and you know that as the owner, and we do now as the promoter of it, on this podcast. And, you know, everyone on here is, you know, we're just grateful to have you and to be on here and to talk about all this. So you know, I think that the next couple episodes coming up for us are going to be a little bit more deep, in regards to what we've done, especially the one where we have his name's Hayden coming on. So we're gonna have, I hope, you know, even you, Jacob, if you want to come on for that, feel free. We're gonna have a lot of deep conversation there with that, and then we're gonna get into a little bit more detail about our lives and what we're looking for this year coming up in hunting. So yeah, that's my long-winded 9-minute answer to your question there, Cedric. So Troy had 6.5. I had to trump him. Sorry.
I have one. I do have one question, but so Jacob, obviously your product's awesome, right? There's a lot of great products out there. I like yours the best. Whatever. Where do you go from here? I'm sure it's a question you get a lot, but where do you go from here?
Yeah, well,
Disneyland's not an answer.
I wouldn't want to go there anyway. No, man, first off, the reason that we've gotten to this point is because of you guys and guys like you and hunters like you that try our product and believe in it, and that get up there and talk about it, and say, hey, this is something that's a little bit different than anything that we've used before, and it works. I mean, there's results from it. So thank you guys for having me on and letting me talk about it, and you guys use it and promote it. And I appreciate that. And we appreciate that more than you know. But from here, man, this year has been a monster year for us already. We brought on a new guy, David Langston, has a very extensive background in the hunting industry.
I know David.
I see Noel shaking his head. Yeah, the more that I'm around David, it blows me away. I think that there's less people that don't know him than do know him. So, and the guy's everywhere. But he's done a really good job helping us grow our company. So we've been getting into a lot of stores. Our growth this year has been exponential, and it's just month number 3. So we are doing our best to fulfill everything and making sure that everything's good to go and we get it into the stores. I think the number one thing for us this year is marketing and exposure, and helping those stores get it off the shelves and get it into hunters' hands. And one thing that I came away from this show season that I wasn't quite sure of was that we had a lot of people, man. A lot of people would come up to us and say, hey, I've tried something the past three or 4 years. I've used something new every year. I try one thing, it's okay. Try another thing, it's okay. But man, your product is something that I've used the past 3 years, and I haven't even thought about changing to something else. And so I think that if we can get it off of the shelf and into hunters' hands, I think it's one of those things where that's what they're going to keep buying. I don't think it's one of those products where you try for 1 year and you're like, yeah, I'm going to try something else. When you see how animals react with it and what you have up close to you, this is one of those things where you're like, why would I change it? Why would I go to something else when I have the results that I'm having? So I think that the big thing for us is just to get it into hunters' hands. And like I said, you guys are a big help with that and the exposure to it. But when people use it, they see the results from it. I think that's the best marketing for our product. I mean, we can throw as many dollars as we want towards commercials or social media promotions and all that kind of stuff. But bottom line is, man, hunters got to use it.
Yeah.
When hunters use it and they see the results of it, that's what's gonna sell our product.
Testimonials. That's what sells.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And
doesn't.
Paul, you kind of talked about this earlier, and I just want to hit on this real quick about hunters that they just need to try it. You know what I mean? And hunters that just want to use it, see, like, just, hey, trust us, go use it. If you're not one of those people and you don't want to waste your money on that, or waste your precious time hunting, because I know a lot of people don't get a lot of time to go sit in the woods. If you don't want to waste your time with that, with a new product, one thing that we do at our trade shows, and one thing that we highly encourage everybody to do, take the worst smelling thing in your house. You can pull a cat turd out of your cat's litter box, put it in a Ziploc baggie. Doesn't matter. You take the worst smelling thing in your house, put it in a Ziploc baggie, spray whatever you want to over it. Spray any other product on the market over it. I promise you're going to get a mix of both the bad smell and whatever you spray into it. And then spray Scent Thief over the top of everything. The only thing that you can smell is Scent Thief. And that works 100% of the time. Every time we've done that test in trade shows, every time we have somebody do that test at home, they're all come back and are like, I cannot believe it. It took the smell away completely. And it's not like it's even a trace of anything. It is 100% Scent Thief is all you can smell. And it doesn't matter what's in the bag. So if you want to test it out for yourself and see the effectiveness of it, that's what we tell people to do. Go put it to the test. We've yet to have anybody come back to us and say, hey, it didn't work on, X or Y or Z. It's like, man, we can't find anything that this stuff doesn't work on. So
that's awesome.
Well, I got a 9-month-old upstairs that can really do some damage. So I have to get my bottle out of the storage room. I never thought about that, but
yeah,
my wife might really become a fan of Scent Thief too if I actually let her spray it during those situations.
Actually,
we'll see it in the baby aisle at Walmart pretty soon.
Hey, it's all natural. It's healthy. Just spray the kid down.
Going back to Cedric and where we go, that's actually where we're planning on going. I think that our biggest market is actually outside of the hunting industry. I think we are huge with coroners, first responders, and funeral homes right now. A lot of nurses in hospitals come to us and say that we saved their job because it's the only thing that takes foul smelling odors away. They spray it in their mask and they're good to go. Same with coroners and first responders. But if you take a bottle of Scent Thief and shake it up, you can pour it into an empty diffuser, turn it on, and it's going to mist out like a normal diffuser would. So yeah, I would recommend, if you don't have a diffuser, just pop a wafer out, set it next to your baby when you're changing them, and you're good to go.
Just hook it on his diaper, just keep it with him 48 hours at a time.
My wife we don't have kids yet, but my wife is the same way as far as, like, she loves it because it's natural stuff. She doesn't mind plugging it into a diffuser and pumping it out because there's nothing harmful in it. And so she's become a big fan of it just because of that.
And if there's a random dog
go ahead, sorry.
I said if there's a random dog hunter that you don't like, just tie it around its collar, and when they go hunting, they won't be able to find anything.
Yeah. I know that I don't want to get too long-winded here, but now that you bring that up, this is my absolute favorite story about Scent Thief. It's one that we try to tell it as much as we can. But so back in, I think it was 2011, when we were going through our original patent process, and Scent Thief's original form, without the final earth oil that we put into it, and in Scent Thief's original form, there is no smell to it. So if you put it in a bag and you smelled it, you might be able to feel that cooling sensation, but you couldn't smell anything. There'd be nothing there. So when we were going through our original patent process, the Department of Justice came and shut us down, and they seized everything from us. They took all of our product, pulled us off all the markets, took all of our research and finding, and said we cannot market it, sell it, advertise it in any way until we hear back from them. They kept us in limbo for about a year, and it was a pretty scary time for Russell. So Russell ended up having to get attorneys to figure out what was going on. And finally, the Department of Justice came back and said that the reason that they shut us down is they discovered that canine units couldn't identify any substance when they were in the presence of Scent Thief. So they actually, it's a yeah. So they thought we were making it for cartels and drug runners.
Yeah.
It's just a deer hunter in the middle of Missouri that's using it, So it's actually a federal crime for us to make it in its original form and sell it in its original form. To get around that and for it to be legal for us to sell, we have to put a smell that's associable with it. And I tell people that final smell that we put into it, we can make it smell like anything, by the way. We can make it smell like earth oil, which is the product that we hunt with.
Yeah.
But we can make it smell like lavender. We can make it smell like grape, lemon. It doesn't matter. It's whatever that final essential oil that we put into it is what it's going to have a hint of. All that's for, though, is for humans. So when you and I smell scent thief, our brain knows that we're trying to smell something, and so it associates that numbing sensation to a previous memory of what your brain thinks that sensation is. And that's why we get Vicks Vapor Rub, or some people get eucalyptus or pine or whatever. It has no effect on the animals, and we've tried that with a couple of different iterations of scent thief. With grape was the number one thing that we used. We hunted with grape smelling essential oil, or I'm sorry, grape smelling scent thief, and there was no difference between that and normal scent thief. So that told us that final iteration that we have to put something associable with scent thief, that's only for humans. So when a human smells scent thief, they can be like, yep, that's scent thief. But when an animal smells it, there's nothing. I don't think that they smell anything, period. I think that they've never experienced that before, so their brain doesn't know what it is, and so it's just blank to them.
And if I ever need to smuggle some stuff in, I know who to call.
Easy now. We got a cop on here, man. You got to be careful.
Yeah, I know. I'm joking.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I'm gonna be on a traffic stop and be like,
I smell scent thief.
Wait a minute.
That's funny.
It's funny. We did a test. So a buddy of mine, he's big into, the hex suit. That does all that. So he's swears by it. And I was like, this is bullshit. Like, we're not going to do this. So he's got a German Shepherd. And so he put his hex suit on, laid in the yard, didn't move. And, I took the dog out in the field, was playing whatever. And he started calling the dog. Right. And the dog's like, it's his best friend. That's his baby. Right. So the dog came running, couldn't find him at all. Nothing. Couldn't find him, anything. So we showed that the hex suit works, and it actually did. So he did the same thing with scent thief. So he took the suit off, sprayed himself down, and put the wafers around him. And I did the same thing, went played with the dog, called the dog. The dog saw him and knew he was there, but didn't know what to do. Was so confused, didn't know to come to him, didn't know where to go, because he couldn't correlate that look to that love of his person. And he ended up just sitting down and laying there and just looking at him. Like, he didn't know what to do.
Yeah, that's interesting, because sight's one of those things where unless you can have deliberate control over it, you never know what's going to happen. Like, if an animal can see you, you don't know what's going to happen. But if they can smell you, you know exactly what's going to happen.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. There's a video on YouTube right now, and we're working on putting something together where we can make a really high quality video for this. And anybody that's listening, if you want to test this out, be my guest. Do it. We encourage people to test this stuff out. We want you to, actually. We want you to come back to us with the results that you get. But there's a video on YouTube right now of a guy who has a German Shorthair. It's his tracking dog. And he takes a deer hide, dips it in estrus, drags it through the yard, hangs the deer hide in a tree. The dog's inside while he's doing this. Hangs it in a tree, and he lets the dog out. The dog beelines it right from the trail, goes straight to that deer hide. He puts the dog back inside, drags the deer hide through a different trail, hangs it in a different tree. And if what we would have told him to do was to spray the deer hide once he had it in the tree, and then occasionally spray the trail, and then let the dog out. He didn't do that. All he did was take a paper towel, saturate that paper towel with scent thief, and then he wiped it on the dog's nose and kind of held it on the dog's nose for about 10 seconds. And he shut the video off because the dog was just running in circles around the house. It didn't pick anything up. So there's a lot of really cool videos that we can make with that, because it works. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, it's one of those things where, until we have somebody come back and say, hey, dogs find it, dogs know exactly what it is, then I'll stop saying that. But man, we just haven't had that happen yet. And so that's exciting to me.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. All right, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on and you spending some time with us. It's been great, getting to know the company and yourself, and you and your dad and the back history. And the Department of Justice and all that. It's pretty sweet. I like it.
Yeah, well, man, thank you for having me on. I appreciate you guys' time. It's always nice when I get to talk with fellow hunters and good guys like you. So I appreciate your time and appreciate you having me on and for this experience.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, have a good night. We appreciate it. And it's the Bowmen signing off.